When you think of World War II, images of massive air fleets probably come to mind, the roar of engines, the glint of sunlight off countless wings. American industrial might was unleashed in the skies, producing an incredible array of aircraft that turned the tide of the war. From the iconic fighters that dueled over Europe to the lumbering bombers that struck deep into enemy territory, each plane had a story. Today, we're re-embarking on an ambitious journey to cover every single U.S. aircraft that served in World War II. It's a massive list, so buckle up as we take a flight through history, exploring the planes that secured Allied victory in the air. Initially, it was a decent plane, but once it was fitted with the British Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, it became a war winner. Its incredible range allowed it to escort bombers all the way to Berlin and back, a feat previously thought impossible. P-51 pilots, like the famed Tuskegee Airmen, became aces, dominating the skies over Germany. Then there's the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt. This thing was a beast of flying tank. It was huge, heavily armed with 850 caliber machine guns, and could absorb an astonishing amount of damage. While it wasn't as nimble as a Mustang at high altitude, it was a superb ground attack aircraft, earning the nickname Jug in the respect of the ground troops it supported. We can't forget the early workhorses. The Lockheed P-38 Lightning was a unique and deadly twin-boom design. It was fast, packed a punch with cannons and machine guns in the nose, and had excellent range. In the Pacific, it was the plane of choice for America's top aces, Richard Bong and Thomas Maguire, who used its speed and firepower to great effect against Japanese aircraft. And then there's the Curtiss P-40 Warhawk, famous for its shark-mouth nose art flown by the Flying Tigers in China. While it was outclassed by later fighters in the early years of the war, the rugged and reliable P-40 held the line in every theater from North Africa to the Pacific, proving its mettle in the hands of determined pilots. The U.S. Navy had its own set of legendary fighters. The Grumman F-4F Wildcat was the primary carrier fighter at the start of the war. It was tough and reliable, and although slower than the Japanese Zero, skilled pilots used tactics like the thatch weave to even the odds at battles like Coral Sea and Midway. But its successor, the Grumman F-6F Hellcat, was the real game changer. It was designed specifically to beat the Zero, and it did just that. It was fast, powerful, easy to fly, and could take a beating. The Hellcat achieved an incredible kill-to-loss ratio, effectively sweeping the skies of the Pacific and earning the nickname Ace Maker. Finally, the Vought F-4U Corsair, with its distinctive inverted gull wings, was a monster. It was arguably the best carrier-based fighter of the war, combining blistering speed with heavy armament. Initially, it had tricky landing characteristics, so the Marines often flew it from land bases, where it proved devastating in close air support and dogfighting. Now, let's move on to the bombers, the heavy hitters. The Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress is an icon of the American strategic bombing campaign over Europe, with up to 13 50 caliber machine guns for defense. It was designed to be a self-defending fortress. Flying in tight formations, fleets of B-17s braved intense flak and fighter attacks to hammer German industry. The crews who flew them were incredibly brave, facing staggering loss rates. But their persistence was key to crippling the Nazi war machine. Alongside the B-17 flew the consolidated B-2 for Liberator. While less famous, the B-24 was produced in even greater numbers. The pinnacle of bomber technology in the war was the Boeing B-29 Superfortress. This was a revolutionary aircraft. It was pressurized, allowing its crew to fly in relative comfort at very high altitudes, above the reach of most enemy fighters and flak. It featured a remote-controlled computerized defensive gun system and could carry a massive bomb load over vast distances. From bases in the Mariana Islands, B-29s launched the final, devastating firebombing raids on Japan and, of course, delivered the 2 atomic bombs that ultimately ended the war. It was the most technologically advanced and expensive weapons project of its time. Let's not forget the medium and light bombers, which played a crucial role. The North American B-25 Mitchell is famous for the Doolittle raid, where it was launched from an aircraft carrier to strike Tokyo early in the war. It was a versatile twin-engine bomber, heavily armed and used for everything from low-level strafing runs in the Pacific to tactical bombing in Europe and North Africa. The Martin B-26 Marauder was another key medium bomber, It had a reputation for being tricky to fly, earning the nickname Widowmaker early on. But once crews were properly trained, it proved to be an incredibly effective and fast bomber with one of the lowest loss rates of any American bomber in the European theater. The Navy also had its own bomber fleets. The Douglas SBD Dauntless was a carrier-based dive bomber. While slow and considered obsolete by 1942, it was the hero of the Battle of Midway, where Dauntless pilots sank for Japanese aircraft carriers in a matter of minutes, a decisive blow from which the Japanese Navy never fully recovered. It was later replaced by the faster and more powerful Curtiss SB-2C Helldiver. The Helldiver had a troubled development but eventually became a potent striker aircraft, carrying bombs or torpedoes. Speaking of torpedoes, the Grumman TBF Avenger was the Navy's primary torpedo bomber. Beyond the glamour of fighters and bombers, there was a whole universe of other essential aircraft. The Douglas C-47 Skytrain, the military version of the DC-3, was the backbone of Allied logistics. This plane did everything. It dropped paratroopers over Normandy, towed gliders, evacuated the wounded, and flew supplies over the hump from India to China. General Eisenhower cited it as one of the key tools that helped win the war. Then you have the flying boats, like the consolidated PBY, Catalina. These slow, long-range patrol aircraft were the eyes of the fleet, spotting enemy ships, hunting submarines, and rescuing downed airmen from the vast expanses of the ocean. Finally, we have the observation and liaison aircraft. These weren't glamorous, but they were vital. They were the eyes of the artillery, flying low and slow over the front lines to spot enemy positions and direct shell fire with deadly accuracy. They also served as ambulances and ferried commanders around the battlefield. From the high-flying B-29s to the low-Anslow L-4S, every one of these aircraft played a part in the massive, complex machinery of the Allied war effort. The sheer diversity and number of planes produced is a testament to the industrial power and innovation of the United States during that time. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. Let me know in the comments which aircraft is your favorite or if there's S1 you'd like to see a dedicated video on. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.